What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Ranty Flat Earth, and Paul. Very good to have you all.
Good to be here.
Hello.
And Chris.
Chris just came on.
Oh, hey Chris.
Hey.
Very good
Hey,
to have
Chris.
you as well.
What's up?
You got the wind turbine pictures?
Yeah, I got him. Did you see the one I sent back?
No.
Well, this sounds
Okay,
exciting.
so-
What are you talking about?
Well, Chris wanted me to. Well, I said to Chris that I would go and take some images of the wind turbines, and I would get actual heights above the water as it touched the seawall, so we could get an estimate as to what we were looking at. So we had the height of the turbines, the distances, the height above water at the shoreline, and Chris, what did you find out?
Well, basically, I found out that the images you took from those distances, so the distances you gave me, so for example, the one on the left was 65,000 feet plus something, and then the height was 37 inches above the water line, and the turbine is 75 meters, or about 246 feet, if memory serves correct. And when I did the angular size of that particular turbine from top to bottom, I start at the top, and then I pull the line down, the number of pixels down, and it meets right at the water line, which is what you would expect with little to no refraction. Now, I'm assuming there was some refraction in a little bit, but it wasn't enough to skew the angular size. So the angular size matched up where it stopped at the water. Now, I went and did the curve calcs to compare, and the curve calc said you should have been missing about 57 feet if you do the refracted hiddens, right? So I'll only ever do refracted hidden anymore, because it just doesn't matter, because there's always refracted hidden that should be there, that is, or that should be missing, that isn't. So refracted hidden was even 57 feet. So then what I did is I drew a red line from the water down in pixels, and that's the amount that should be missing that wasn't. And I did it on the turbine on the left and the turbine on the right, and both were fine as far as that you saw them from top to bottom, and you should have had some missing that just simply wasn't missing at all.
Excellent.
So what you're saying is the turbines are an excellent demonstration of perspective and don't demonstrate any Earth curve?
Exactly.
Marvellous. Yeah. Perspective has been hijacked and called Earth curve.
Any sign of curvature?
Sounds like that the answer's no to that one, Ranty. Just lots of demonstrations of perspective. By axial rotation.
No. At least they can't demonstrate it.
In the pre-show we were chatting about it, right? They need to assert that there's a Coriolis effect. The high priests of scientism, or pseudoscience priests, I should say. I'm going to start correcting these terms. Although I did say the high priests of scientism, nevertheless. They would assert that we have a Coriolis effect. Neil deGrasse Tyson would say a field goal goes in because the Earth leaves the rotating reference frame of the spinning ball Earth, and continues in a straight line, while the Earth rotates underneath. Well, that's a demonstration of two reference frames, also asserted by the fibre optic or ring laser gyroscopes. Well, if the Earth rotates underneath the gyroscope, the ball, the bullet, then it also rotates underneath helicopters, aeroplanes, drones, but it doesn't. The actual application that we see when we use things that are in that claim to be second reference frame don't deviate in the slightest.
Yeah, but Nathan, the globe has always will always tell you that a plane doesn't act the same as a bullet, you know.
Right, it's in that second reference frame, so it should, if there's a Coriolis effect, which there is not because the Earth is not turning.
We'll contrast the plane, the bullet, and the guy on the roundabout throwing the ball. They all have a Coriolis effect if it actually existed.
Right, Coriolis effect is real. You take a roundabout at your child's playground. You hold a ball in your hand and spin on the roundabout. The ball, as you hold it, spins with you. One reference frame. When you throw the ball, it will travel in a straight line through the second reference frame. As you rotate underneath that ball travelling in a straight line, it appears to take a curved path. It's not the ball that's curving, it's an apparent deflection because you rotate underneath. The assertion being the same on the spinning ball Earth. A ball released from a football player's hand travels in a straight line, but the Earth rotates underneath. Same with bullets. A sniper fires a sniper rifle, and they must account for the fact that the Earth rotates underneath. Now, if the Earth rotates underneath a bullet or a football, then it also rotates underneath anything else in that second reference frame, including helicopters, planes and drones, but it doesn't ever demonstrate that. There is no Earth-based Coriolis effect. Coriolis is real, the Earth just doesn't spin.
Yeah, how did they get around the ball being much slower than the plane and the bullet, huh?
There is no reference frames to name because nothing's turning. The Earth doesn't spin. The assertion that we only have one reference frame, that the Earth is in lockstep with the atmosphere, is an assertion of a single reference frame, therefore no Coriolis effect, I'm afraid. You need two reference frames for that. It's like you holding on to the ball while you're on the roundabout. Well, then you've only got one reference frame, haven't you?
Yeah. Good point.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nope.
No, and you can hold me down for that statement.
Any scientific evidence of what?
Gravity? Scientific evidence thereof. Ranty.
I heard a new one.
Go on.
That's
I heard
like
a new-
Tranty? Sorry.
Oh, the trancy
Go
came
on, Chris.
out of your mouth.
Go on, Chris.
So I was on non-sec show on Saturday, and I was talking to Fight the Flat Earth, and he and a guy named Team Skeptic, and they told me that with gravity, that as things fall, there's also a counter upward inertial acceleration, and that if you use a gyro, or sorry, not gyro, an accelerometer, that so you can get an accelerometer on your phone, on the smartphones, right? So I say if you get an accelerometer on your smartphone and you just have it sitting on the table, it will show the 1G or 9.8 meter per second acceleration rate while the phone's just sitting there. And that if you take that same phone and same accelerometer and you drop it, that it goes to zero because of this upward force, this upward inertial force, as they called it, which in all my research in gravity, I'd never heard that happens or why that happens. But that was new to me, and it doesn't really make sense. I would think that if it's falling at 9.8, that it would increase in acceleration to past 9.8, but
Yeah, you'd have
so
the
basically,
what you're saying is you'd have the combined. It's like saying a car crash at 40 miles an hour, but if you're crashing it to another car that's travelling at 40 miles an hour, you've got a combined crash speed of 80 miles an hour. And
exactly.
The same would apply if you've got the Earth accelerating up towards the item that's falling at 9.8 meters per second squared. So therefore, you have a double.
Exactly. So the fact that it goes to zero doesn't make sense to me in my mind. Now, I'm not saying that that's incorrect. I'm just saying it doesn't make any sense. And they like to use accelerometers as proof of gravity Dr. Bob does the same thing. And they'll say, do you know how a gyro compass works? Do you know how an accelerometer works and all those things? And I say, well, yeah, it detects motion, and he somehow believes that a fully mechanical, fully digital, no light accelerometer, in your phone, like a smartphone, there's no moving parts. It's all solid state. That somehow it's detecting gravity. And I'm like, well, what can't they just have programmed it to say if you're not feeling motion, you apply a 1G downward force, and if you are feeling motion, you do the opposite. It would be really easy to program it to do that.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No, I don't know how you go up there and measure from here to a light. I have no idea how you would do that.
And yet we all assume that the other light in the sky is a rock, right? So it's perfectly reasonable to accept that we cannot in any way, shape or form travel to the sun. Oh, Chocolate saying joined and... Who dropped? Did somebody drop? We might have a sniper in our back chat.
Chris dropped.
Oh, Chris dropped. Okay, he'll hopefully be back. I've completely lost my train of thought now. What are we on? Distance to the sun? Yeah, they claim that the moon is something we can travel to, but the sun is not. It's like, well, they're just lights in the sky, right?
Yep.
So,
Hello,
hey,
hello.
Chocolate. Hey, Chocolate.
Well, just wait until 2024 so NASA could go to the moon again, huh? We're going to see the show again, or are they going to say, oh, we got to put it off because of this?
Mic check, mic check.
We can hear you, Chocolate. Can you not hear us?
Oh, okay. I didn't hear anybody respond to me. It's cool. Good morning, everybody.
Good
morning, Chuck.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Only in the Tootsie Roll Pop.
I'm for a molten chocolate core.
Yeah, nice
I'm
one.
down for that, too.
I could kill Jessica right now. If you're listening, Jessica, this is all your fault. Any evidence of the presupposition itself? The R value? Earth radius?
No, like I said on the last time, if you can't even show 8 inches per mile square, how do you take it back to the R value?
We might be looking at that from a slightly different tangent. So, Quantum Eraser dropped me a line yesterday, quite excited to tell me something which he'd not discovered but was verbalising in a very consistent way, a debunking of an assertion in regards to the stars. I don't want to give too much away. Hopefully Adam Meakin and Ranty will also be partaking in separate parts of that particular presentation.
Sorry, what was that? I missed it.
Don't worry, Ranty. It's all good.
Sorry.
No worries.
I just heard my name mentioned. I was like, what?
We've
Well,
enlisted...
there's the R factor. There's the R factor, Ranty.
I was talking specifically about the conversation, although Adam wasn't actually there, although he's now joined the chat conversation with his mathematics for what will be demonstrated by Quantum Eraser soon. That conversation. Shout out to this Seriously Flat for the super chat. Thank you very much for your support. Last but not least, any evidence that you can have a gas pressure without something to press upon?
No possible way.
Something to press upon.
There's a claim,
it's not just
Arwin.
something to press upon, right? It has to be pressed upon in all directions.
Yeah, it's got to press upon something to be a pressure. But there's an assertion
to be more specific, it has to be a container.
Yeah, the necessary antecedent would be a container, but there's an assertion that the gas that we're breathing isn't actually pressing on a container. It's pressing on a space that's a lower pressure system, near vacuum, in fact. So entropy would dictate that the gas would fill that space.
This is all nonsense. There is no gas pressure.
Gravity, man, gravity.
No,
Sorry,
but it's
we covered that, Chocolate. You just weren't here.
interpretation. There is no gas pressure. There's only atmosphere.
My bad, Arwin. Chocolate wasn't here for that question. We did actually cover that. You just weren't here, Chocolate. So, any scientific evidence of gravity? Or is it just the solid state phone accelerometers and the presupposition based on relative density?
Which gravity? Bendy space-time?
I don't know. Which one was being talked about? Oh, he's gone, hasn't he? Chris isn't here to ask which gravity they were specifically referencing. We may never know, Chocolate. What gravity is a good question. Shout out to Sean Tibbets for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, Nathan, isn't the gas elements or particles, whatever you want to call them, non-bonding, and when they all want to escape in different directions until they hit something?
That's correct. Yes, they would all move randomly in all directions. They're not liquids, they're gases. No bonds, correct. So yeah, so the second law of thermodynamics, entropy in essence, debunks the assertion that the sky is a vacuum, aka outer space. It's not, because the gas would fill the space. You can't press on a vacuum.
That sucks.
It certainly does, if you're a globehead. That's it.
Well,
that concludes,
No,
that
you
concludes
can't
it.
press on a vacuum. You just can't press against it.
Well, you disperse into it if you're a gas travelling in all directions. And apparently we're surrounded in all directions by a lower pressure system. Something that the gas would definitely try and disperse into if it was the case. But it isn't. Happy days. We're still all alive, breathing gas pressure. Quite happily. Happy days. That concludes the housekeeping, I believe.
Should we revisit the NASA story, or
In
do
other
we go
words,
with the
breathing
other
proves flat Earth.
Yeah, sure. Are we all aware that they're sending men to the moon? Should I say again? Have they disclaimed that they didn't go in the first instance yet? Or is that still part of the narrative, right?
No, I think it's part of the narrative, but Donald Trump says he's going to give 1.6 billion more to the NASA so we could hurry up and get to the moon. And here I'm quoting the guy who's in charge of it. His name is Bernstein or something. Burdenstein is the guy speaking for NASA. And in one part, he says, the most significant piece is going to be landing capability. He said, lunar landers are difficult to build. They take time, they take money, and we don't have the capability we did in the 1960s. Then he says, there's not another country on the planet, so again, presupposing planet, there's not another country on the planet that has anything near the capability to land on the surface of the moon.
Shout out to Rebel Rob TV for the super chat. Thank you very much for your support. Really appreciate it.
Except for China, supposedly.
That was my thought, Arwen. Didn't China land some kind of rover on the backside?
Yep.
So we're the only country on the planet that has the technology, but the 60s technology we've lost, and which is contradiction. Like you can't believe. You never, if you've invented something in the past, you don't lose sight of it. You don't lose the schematics of it. You might improve on it. We have toasters that are better than old toasters, but we still have toasters. It's a bold-faced lie, and people
it's
will
the
just glance
equivalent
at
of us today, somebody asking me, can I make a phone call, and giving them a rotary phone. I mean, it's literally, that's the difference right there.
I think one of the arguments for it, that I did hear on occasion when just a random NASA-related video popped by, thanks to YouTube, I think I heard that they said one of the reasons because why it can't be done right now, and then it could, is because the technology back then was supposedly not susceptible enough to the Van Allen radiation belt, while all modern electronics that are being made right now are all very sensitive to that supposed type of radiation. So they would basically have to redo electronics from scratch. That's what makes it so hard.
Well, that's
a cool story.
That's another easy to take apart lie. Here's why. If the Van Allen belts have an effect on today's electronics, but did not so on the 60s electronics, it still wouldn't change the fact that it would have killed the humans inside the spaceship.
So this is what they want. They want us to argue about the Van Allen belts. Another shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat. Thank you very much for the super chat. They want us to argue about Van Allen belts and whether or not you could survive traversing them. Well, talking about a second law of thermodynamics violation. Who's telling us about these belts exactly? Oh, it's NASA, is it? Oh, that's interesting. So
No,
NASA
but
tell us
they-
about the belts that undo their own argument in terms of the moon travel. And they've got an argument already lined up for us to argue about using
Yeah.
valves instead of transistors or whatever they say the technology needs to still support the idea of going to the moon with archaic technology. Yeah, okay. They want us to argue about that so we can say, you can't get through the Van Allen belts in space with this technology. That's just what they want. Now, space is
what
fake.
what they argued for was actually that because of the quick transition through the Allen radiation belt, that it would not be a lethal dosage for humans, but electronics would, give in much quicker.
So they've got the
Just
debunking
a
and the
short
argument.
flash would be like an EMP to it, supposedly, and all the electronics could survive that, and humans too. So that's how they presented it.
NASA very intentionally give you both things. They give you the material to debunk what they claim, and they give the what's the other side of the debunking? Well, you've got the
Validate.
say again.
Validate.
No, you've got us as the skeptics, and you've got the debunkers who are the globeheads, right? So we'll call us the skeptics. So we say the moon landing isn't real because you can't pass through the Van Allen belts, and the globeheads say you can pass through the Van Allen belts. Well, the entire argument begs the question that space is real. Yeah. So let's argue about whether or not, what was it yesterday with Spurs about footprints in the muddy or not muddy stuff on the rock in the sky in space. And I'm saying, yeah, let's argue about whether or not the kids left footprints because the time is different. There's different time in Narnia. You're all aware of this. They grow old, but then when they go back through the wardrobe, they're still children. So time is very different. So if time is different, this is a legit question, would they cause footprints in the snow if there's a difference in the way that time travels in Narnia? So let's have a little argument. Let's not worry about whether or not Narnia is real. Let's argue about whether or not time and its differences in Narnia would mean that we have footprints in the snow or not. Now, the images show us footprints. So, obviously, the debunkers are going to say footprints are possible. Now, we're saying, no, it's not possible because of the time dilation problem, so therefore footprints not possible. Let's argue about this all day long. While the people who give us the narrative, both sides of it in this instance, they'll give us all the material we need to debunk it within the narrative of space. And they'll give the debunkers all that they need to defend the position of the photography and the photographic images created on studio sets. Yeah, they'll give us both sides. Well, we all ignore the fact that it's Narnia, that there is no footprints there at all, that the lighting is irrelevant because the place doesn't exist. Whether or not the gas lamp's real is nonsensical if the place doesn't exist. So they're not travelling to a light in the sky. It's a light in the sky. You can't have where they say that light in the sky is, space, because it's a second law of thermodynamics violation. So whatever they say about whatever they're doing, they're not travelling to a law of nature violation. That's never going to happen. Space is fake.
Well, like we said on the show earlier, they're losing the battle of that argument, which is can't have gas pressure without a container. So they're throwing out more stories for the Globers and us to get entrapped with rather than addressing that initial statement, you can't go.
Yeah, Narnia's not real, but let's just brush past that and worry about whether or not the cinematography on the ISS works or not. Let's worry about whether or not the rockets will work in the vacuum of space, rather than addressing the fact that you can't have a vacuum of space. Another shout out to Earth is Seriously Fat. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat.
Ooh, hey Nathan, want to hear an interesting conspiracy theory?
If it's about cousins getting married, then no.
No, not about that.
Okay. Shout out to Taboo Conspiracy. He's got an excellent channel.
It's about secret moon bases. Seriously, like I'm gonna bring forth an argument against secret moon bases on the backside of the moon. Okay, it's
Right.
not based in science, just for starters, but just think about it. Okay, imagine a large moon base would have been built on the backside of the moon with a secret space fleet and blah. Well, if they did that, then they would potentially risk rotating the moon. because if they added on weight on the backside of the moon, which is not as big as the Earth, potentially that weight could cause the moon to rotate and
Oh, God.
suddenly
Oh, God.
turn the backside into the front side, and we would totally see a different type of moon. What else could
I
happen
would
with all the
say
tides?
that is the single greatest debunking ever. So if you want to take that, you can. In essence, to summarise it, basically the fact that the moon hasn't rotated about its axis, which is presumed,
It's
is
proof
a
that there are no
debunking.
secret moon bases on it.
Right. Because if there were secret moon bases, obviously it'd have flopped round and we'd now have the dark side, the light side, and we'd see all those moon bases exposed. So, yeah, that's clearly a great debunking, Owen. I think that's for the win, that one.
Yay.
That's where the term comes when someone says somebody mooned me.
That's poor show. Tumbleweed.
Exposed the backside?
Yeah.
Wow.
Someone exposed me by mooning me.
That is amazing. That is called synchronicity.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
So that entire narrative, again, would beg the question that it's a rock in space. No. Space is fake. Second law of thermodynamics violation. We don't know what it is. It's just a light in the sky to us. No one's travelling to it through a second law of thermodynamics violation. Narnia, space, isn't real.
That's the best. That's the one that makes the most sense, most reasonable.
But more
I
power
wanted
to
to
you, I
drive a
suppose,
moon
if you want to
buggy one
argue
day.
about whether or not you can have footprints in the snow based on the timeline, or whether or not the tyres on the moon buggy would kick up dust. It's the same principle as arguing about whether or not the time in Narnia would cause footprints in the snow. It's completely nonsensical.
Well, you know what's going to happen now. This article is going to give birth to more articles. They're going to have more PR. And everyone's going to say on the globe side, okay, well, we'll find out in 2024 when they actually go to the moon. So this is going to be them hanging on. And this is just set there as a trap when they're denying the second law of thermodynamics.
I'm going to shout out DITRH. So a few weeks back, DITRH dropped me an email and said, I've had this argument with this dude and I don't like him. Can you have him on your show and show him what's what? And I said, I'll give it a go. He said, I'll donate $50 to your super chat if you can get him on. I was like, right, there's motivation. I'm definitely poor. Smash the super chat if you're watching live. Anyway, so I set about emailing this dude to get him on. And after about, I don't know, a dozen emails, I kind of gave up and lost interest. And then somebody pointed out that he'd been on. I just didn't realise it was him. So I was like, right, where's my $50? So I chased up Death. I'm like, why are you owing me $50? Give it me now. And he very dutifully did. He sent it me on PayPal, and on the PayPal message it said, worth it. So I'm going to mirror it. I'm going to mirror that section. So after the second live debate's finished, another shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat. Thank you very much for all these super chats. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. After mentioning I'm poor, so hope that wasn't a subtle hint. Anyway, so I'll mirror that after the second live debate goes out today. So yeah, check it out.
Wait, who is the guy?
If I tell you what the subject matter was, it might jog your memory. He was a guy that basically said you could go up in a helicopter, and because you hadn't calibrated your ring laser gyroscope, it would demonstrate to you in your helicopter that you'd experienced 15-degree deviation of Earth rotation underneath the gyroscope. Okay. And we were like, well,
that was last week. That was last week.
Yeah, was it about a week ago? Yeah, something like that. But yeah, so he's essentially saying, well, the gyro's saying the Earth's turning underneath, and you're like, well, does it? Well, yeah. Well, no, it doesn't. The continent of China doesn't just come along if you hover in a helicopter. The Earth doesn't rotate underneath your drone, and your flight times aren't vastly reduced with continents coming towards you as you fly through that second reference frame, because there isn't one. There is no Earth-based Coriolis effect. And that's essentially what the gyroscope's demonstrating. It's backing Neil deGrasse Tyson when he says, yeah, the field goal, that only went in because the Earth rotated underneath. Well, the gyroscope's trying to demonstrate that exact effect, the Coriolis effect. 2 reference frames. That's what it's asserted to demonstrate. But what they want to do when they can make those claims is talk all about the one specific piece of equipment that they claim demonstrates a Coriolis effect. So they talk all about how the ring laser gyroscope works. It's like, right, forget how it works, who cares? it's demonstrating that the Earth turns underneath, right? No, it doesn't though. That's the problem. So you can focus solely on this gyro and how it does prove it. And people get lost in confusion that essentially they're saying the Earth's rotating underneath. It's like, once I'd pinned him to that, he was like, yeah, but I want to tell you all about the gyro again. Don't care. Doesn't rotate underneath. End of story.
With that way of thinking, I could reference it to the scientific method. They're always believing the null effect because it never shows up, but they believe it.
A null in a hypothesis is essentially your your statement that your best guess, presumed cause, didn't cause the effect. So a null result isn't a success. It's a demonstration of an incorrect supposition. So your supposition is the alternative. So you'd say, if this, then that. That's the heart of your hypothesis. The if this being the independent variable, the thing that you're going to change. So it's the thing that you presume causes the effect. So if you say, right, my hypothesis is the chemical composition of water causes it to boil. So if acid, then boiling water. That's your supposition. That's what you've presumed causes the effect. And the null is if acid, not boiling water. So if you validate your null, which is in essence what gives the scientific method its empiricism, you will prove or disprove, validate or invalidate your hypothesis. Because the invalidation of the hypothesis is the validation of the null. To say that if acid, no boiling water, well, you've got it wrong. You haven't identified the cause of the effect. You've identified an incorrect cause. Well, there could be a million things that don't cause boiling water, right? Until you establish that heat causes it. Well, until that point, all you're doing is validating the null. So these people who assert, well, this was a null result, therefore proving my point. No, not at all. You're trying to establish the cause. And if you don't, well, then you just don't establish the cause.
Well, he said it went up and the Earth is moving, except it's not.
Something wrong with the link? Can someone check the link? If you're in the public chat, definitely be there. I'll repaste it, although I have had it in there. Refresh your page, that's probably what it is, before I start messing around with it. If you want to join the Hangout, refresh your page, because you might have been watching from the beginning and I paste it after the show starts. So just refresh and you should get the link.
Yeah.
If not, let me know after you've refreshed.
It took me a couple of times to come in.
Link is incorrect, says P. Mars. Okay, I'll repaste it.
Hey, Arwen, you had that story on Monsanto. You want to go over that?
Yeah, I do, yeah. I'll tell you all about it. Monsanto. Poisoning us all. No, Armin? Arwin. No, you're not going to get a bite on that one, I'm afraid, 10th man.
Well, I remember Monsanto being such a big company in the late 60s and early 70s. Every time we go to the original Disneyland, they always had the one area of Disneyland where Monsanto was featured, a futuristic city and all kinds of stuff. Monsanto was part. And you always had good thoughts about Monsanto back then. And then come to realize what they're doing and how they're killing the farmers and poisoning and everything. And Arwen had that article about a $2 billion lawsuit, which of course they'll appeal forever.
Sorry to interrupt. Shout out to Julio Pabon for the super chat. Thank you very much for your super smashing of the super chat. Really do appreciate it. Sorry, 10th man.
Well, no problem. How they portray things until the truth comes out, when you really see who they are, what they're doing. That's why it's important to be critical and to test all things and prove all things.
The same link. I don't know. I've repasted it, but it looked exactly the same to me when I repasted it.
It works now.
I tested. It was working. Yeah, I tested. It was working.
Well, I've repasted it. It's a new one now. So thanks for joining.
It wasn't working earlier.
I believe you. I've repasted a new one.
Did I hear you say you believe him?
Yeah, well, yeah, if it's more than one or two people in the chat say it's not working, I'll just take their word for it. Hey, Right the Hand. Hey, hey, Peanuts.
What up? Hey, I was
Just
just
having
letting you know
fun.
that. Forgive me. I was just letting you know that the link does
Well,
work.
Thank you, Peanuts.
Peace out.
Can you just say a quick hello, Right the Hand?
Hey, what's going on, man? How
Good to have you.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Cool.
Arwin,
I'm sure P wanted to join to actually say something. Did you have something you wanted to add, P?
I don't know. I've just been watching space documentaries. That's about it.
You wanted to talk about space?
Well, I have all the answers now because they're playing these 24/7 space documentaries on YouTube, and I've been watching them. They're pretty interesting.
What have you learned?
So we see a lot with telescopes. So I don't know, lots of random stuff like galaxies hit each other. Dwarf galaxies are a thing.
You notice how it's just declaration?
Oh, no. This is fine. It's just describing what people see in telescopes, right? The fact that he calls it a galaxy, yes, that's got a meaning attached to it, but so what? You know, the colloquial description of something that's a light in the sky and what's seen in an eyepiece. Hi, Brenda. That's all good by me. Can you hear us? No sound, Brenda.
Hello?
Hello.
One thing. Oh, there she is.
Yes.
Go on, P.
They said we know more about other galaxies because we can't see the center of our own galaxy because there's like gas and stars in the way. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Shout out to Julio Pabon.
I did shout him out.
You did?
I did.
Yeah. I must be deaf today.
Yeah, as I say, Pete,
So-
the only issue I have is when there's when they attribute the heliocentric idea of us being a floating ball with the lights in the sky being part of our, what they call a solar system. That's just nonsense. It's just lights in the sky.
Well, that's just denial.
Yeah,
Do you have an argument against it?
I
Sorry.
do. Math doesn't float in a vacuum.
What about like Mars?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So there's an assertion that it's a lower pressure
Mars
system.
doesn't look like a light.
The lower pressure system, according to that claim.
Does Mars look like a light?
I hadn't finished,
light in
Brenda.
the sky?
Brenda, I got about. You said, "Is there an argument?" I'm giving it you. Do you not want to hear it?
I'm waiting.
You're going to answer? Do you not want to hear it?
I am answering it.
No, I'm
Go ahead.
answering it. You asked me, "Is there an argument here?" And then you started interrupting as I gave
Go
the
ahead.
argument. Now
Go
you're
ahead. Go
interrupting
ahead.
again as I talk. Is this just your tactic? When I talk, you talk. That's two questions.
ahead.
Two questions. Do you not want to hear it? Is it your tactic to
Go
just
ahead.
talk like now? Whenever I talk, you talk. There's long gaps where you could talk. Instead, you're choosing to talk when I talk. So there's two questions on the table, Brenda. I want both answering. Do you not want to hear my debunking of the violation of a second law of thermodynamics? And is it just your tactic to talk when I talk?
I think that there might be a delay. That might be part of the problem. Yes, I would like to hear your argument that all we can see are lights in the sky.
Yeah, the claim from the assertion that we are heliocentric comes with a gas next to a vacuum. That violates the law of nature, entropy. The gas would fill the space. So if it's asserted that there's a lower pressure system with no barrier, then the gas would fill the space. And we wouldn't have any gas. It would reach equilibrium in the vacuum, the endless, never-ending space that is claimed where those lights reside. Now, I say just lights. You, baller, would claim that those lights are in a second law of thermodynamics violation, a vacuum.
Yeah, that's not the heliocentric theory. The heliocentric theory is that the sun is the center of mass of the solar system and that all of the planets revolve around it. It has nothing to do with the second law.
Sorry, that doesn't address my debunking in the slightest. You're just telling me about your model, like I didn't know already. I understand what the heliocentric model, which we don't live on, we're not part of a model, we're in reality. Now, who cares what your model asserts? I'm saying that that model comes along with a claim that there's a sky vacuum. And I'm saying if the sky is a vacuum, the gas would fill it. It's a lower pressure system. So it can't possibly be what they claim in your model. That's my argument, Brenda. The law being the second law of thermodynamics. Entropy would take effect. The gas, which is trying to expand in all directions, would have a tendency towards a lower pressure system. That's what entropy is. High pressure to low pressure. Hot to cold.
Where in the heliocentric model of the solar system does it say anything about a vacuum?
It says it's 10 to the minus 17 torr.
The heliocentric theory says nothing about a vacuum.
It says, I'll say it again, it's 10 to the minus 17 torr. That's the value attributed. Is this your tactic? Is this your tactic? Is this your tactic? I haven't finished. I said it twice because you didn't address it. Yes, there's absolutely a claim for just how much of a vacuum it is. Very near perfect vacuum. 10 to the minus 17 torr.
That's not the heliocentric theory.
Why are you just denying it? You're just denying it. So you're denying that they claim it's 10 to the minus 17 torr. Well, you're just wrong. Sorry, you don't know your own model very well.
Well, then show me where in a statement of the heliocentric model it says anything about existing in a vacuum.
It's 10 to the minus 17 torr. Very, 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 very low pressure.
That's not inconsistent. It is possible that...
No, it's not, you dumb fuck. I just said it twice. It's a violation of a law of nature. Entropy. The gas would fill the space.
This time, I was talking.
Yeah,
in the
you've
heliocentric
ignored me.
model, it says...
So you've had a little argument about whether or not it's 10 to the minus 17 torr, saying it's not. And when I say it twice, you then concede that it is. But that's not inconceivable. So after denying it, you say it's not inconceivable, and that works in line with your model. Like I give a crap about a claim that the sky is a vacuum.
The heliocentric model doesn't claim the sky is a vacuum.
10 to the minus 17 torr. You're going to dance around this for 3 times. Yeah, I know what the value is. It's a very, 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 very low pressure. That's what it's claimed to be. Now, if you want to argue about whether or not it's a perfect vacuum, I don't give a crap.
I'm saying that vacuum is nowhere in the heliocentric theory. It's not mentioned at all.
Yeah, it is. Space is a vacuum.
No, it's not.
You're just a dick.
Show me.
No, you're a dick.
Show me.
No. You want to deny that space is claimed to be 10 to the minus 17 torr? What's this that's being presented on screen? Image space of air pressure. This pressure of outer space. Oh, I couldn't read it quick enough.
The heliocentric model
I couldn't read it quick enough. Hold on a second, Brenda.
Space is a vacuum.
Hold on, Brenda. Sorry, right the path. Can you just read what you put up, please?
Yeah, this I just copied this from Google. What's the air pressure of space? So this is from the official sources, Brenda, that tell you everything. So this is coming from them. The pressure in outer space is so low that many consider it as non-existent. It has a pressure of 1.322 times 10 to the negative 11th pascals. Pressure may be detected from the molecule of air or water hitting you, blah, blah, blah. Since there is very little air and hardly ever water hitting you in space, pressure is almost zero or negligible.
Sorry, Brenda. If you interrupt again, while somebody demolishes your argument, you're going to have to go. So he's demolishing your assertion, your claim of ignorance that you didn't realise. Yeah? Well, you're wrong, and you're demanding that I prove this known part of your model. Now, your denial just pisses me off. If you don't know it, thick fuck, go elsewhere and be ignorant somewhere else.
The source that Wright the Hand quoted says, and I quote, pressure may be detected from the molecule of air or water hitting you. Does it say anything about a container there?
They're telling you how they detect pressure.
It doesn't say anything about a container.
We're not
doesn't.
talking about a container. We're talking about
Yes,
space.
you're
as
talking
well.
So
about
what you're saying is
We're talking
because
about pressure.
so Brenda, you're saying because the narrative claims. So you're saying because they've written down the narrative that makes it true. No, we're debunking that narrative with the law of nature. So just because it's written on Google doesn't make it so. Google's not God, Brenda. However, a law of nature definitely applies. Without the container, there can be no pressure because there's nothing to press upon.
You've already been debunked about that multiple times.
Oh, go on then. Show me gas pressure without a container, please.
Yeah, that you know the video of which I speak, right?
You haven't spoken anything, you stupid idiot.
It's been shown.
Sorry, she's just said, you know the video of which I speak, don't you? In hushed tones. Yeah, you stupid fucking idiot. You've actually got to name the video before you say I know the video of which you speak, if you haven't spoken it, you stupid bonehead. Do you think we're clairvoyant? Do you think we are clairvoyant?
Well, I maybe. But
Brent, not you.
well, I know what she's talking about. She's talking
And
about
so does
that ridiculous video of the guy, basically
Yes.
creating pressure within containers. That thing.
It's not a
was
container.
supposedly proof. It was ridiculous. Brenda.
What
It's
was
not
the
a
pipe in
container.
that?
We
What was
treated
the
it
pipe
on
in
the
that,
table.
Brenda?
Hold on. Brenda's just said it's not a container.
Right.
Look, hold on. Brenda
Right.
finished. So there's something at play here. If there's anything at play, that seems weird, as we're asking for it to be demonstrated without, as opposed to having an it. We don't need any it. We just need to see the gas pressure without any containment. So if you're going to start talking about how something's got a PSI value, then it needs to get the PSI value from something that's got a square inch value. That would be a container. So is this video in any way measuring a square inch of pressure on something, Brenda?
No, it's not.
So it's showing gas
No.
pressure without a container. Oh wow, I've not seen
Yes,
that video.
yes, it is.
I've definitely not clairvoyant, and I've definitely not seen that demonstration of a violation of a
Yeah.
law of nature. What's the video called?
It's the one where he has the lead pipe and the thermometer, and he measures the air pressure of butane that's in the pipe.
So a pipe's a container. Are you retarded? So he's pressurizing a lead pipe and measuring the pounds per square inch of the pipe, also known as a container.
It's not a container. It doesn't.
Sorry, it's got a fucking per inch value to press upon. It's definitely a container. You're just fucking retarded.
No, it doesn't.
So it doesn't have a per square inch value to measure. It doesn't have area and a square inch value of that area to measure. It doesn't have that.
Pressure is measured in bars.
You're not answering me. I said it, according to you, does not have an area with a square inch value to measure how much the air presses per square inch of that area. It, according to you, does not have that. Is that right, Brenda?
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely guarantee you that a pipe has got inches in squares to press upon. That's what gives you the pressure to measure per inch of it, you stupid idiot.
Containers don't have to have a lid.
Can I ask Brenda?
Let me get it clear for Brenda, who's a fuckwit and stupid and slow and doesn't listen to the housekeeping. What we're looking for very specifically, Brenda, is something without a per square inch value to measure.
If I pour carbon hexafluoride,
I don't give a fuck about your stupid example with sulfur hexafluoride either, in a container. No, not interested in that neither. I'm interested in a demonstration of gas pressure. Let me say it again. Say it with me, Brenda. Without a container. And now a container, just so you know what that is something that you can press upon. Something with a square inch value that you can measure how much of that square inch value is being pressed upon.
that's not what a container is.
Yeah, it is. That's why the measurement is PSI. per square inch of the container.
I've got the
Pipes aren't
definition on screen.
Oh,
gas.
let's have a look at this. Let's see how stupid Brenda is.
Yeah,
Let's
a
have
bucket
Brenda
can be
read
a
it.
container.
Brenda, read the definition on screen, you stupid fundy.
A vessel, holder, repository, canister, drum, box, case, receptacle.
So is a bucket a container?
Yes.
Are you fucking retarded? Is a bucket a container? Yeah, do we need to now list all the things that have a square inch value that you can measure how much something presses upon that square inch value? Yeah, a bucket's a container, you stupid idiot.
So it's a cup.
Right.
So
So
it's a
if
cup. Let me get it clear,
if I-
Brenda. I'll say it again because you're dumb. We're not trying to list types of containers. What we want to see is the absence of a container. And the reason we want to see an absence of that container is that's what you claim Earth is. A gas pressure without a container. Next to, making it 10 times worse, a much lower pressure system. Something that the gas wants to go into, disperse into. That would be a vacuum. So you're claiming that not only do we not have a container, it's next to a much lower pressure system. And we're asking to see a demonstration of that.
Basically, Brenda's saying you could put a straw that has an open end on both sides, suck up soda, and say that's not pressing against the sides of the straw. This is so silly, Brenda.
That's ridiculous.
Is a tube a container?
Yeah, you stupid fundy. Yeah, like a bucket. It's got a per square inch value, hasn't it, fundy? How many times do we have to say it? If it's got a square inch value that can measure it, you can measure how much per square inch is pressing per square inch. That makes it a container, Brenda. Yeah. How many times we've got to say this? Is this really elementary stuff that we've got to explain? Yeah. If it's got walls to press on, it's a container.
A container, though.
Yeah. If it's got walls to press on.
You've said before that tubes are not containers.
What are you talking about?
We got quotes from you. Blue Marble quoted you.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Look, Brenda, the thing about a container is that they can contain things. They can hold it. So a tube that just has two open sides, yeah, that's not a good container. But if you close off one side,
then the quote?
That tube, and I think that's definitely the case in the supposed experiment.
If I pour Arwen, if I pour
Nathan,
air,
you just said there's a quote. What's the quote? What's the quote, Brenda?
That was in reference to the demonstration.
No, not that was in reference. You haven't fucking quoted me yet. I want to hear the quote first. Not that was in reference to. Yeah, don't tell me what it was in reference to. Give me the actual quote. The quote.
You said that a aquarium holding carbon tetrafluoride, it's the demonstration with the little aluminum boat floating in carbon tetrafluoride.
It's got quote marks around it.
Which is heavier than air.
Has this got quote marks around it? This doesn't sound like my words. This doesn't
have a lid.
You're describing stuff and paraphrasing, Brenda. I don't like being misquoted. Stop.
Yes, he did.
Stop. Stop talking. I want you to start by saying the word quote, indicating that there are now quote marks around words I've actually said. And when the words I've said finish, I want you to say the words end quote. That's how a quote works. So not a load of paraphrasing bullshit that you insert in between. I want the actual words with the words quote at the beginning and end quote at the end. Go.
Well, I can come back with that later.
You're not quoting me, you fucking bitch! How fucking dare you?
Oh, you're a fucking little child.
Yeah, you're not quoting me. So this is a bloody outrage. Brenda comes along and says, I've got a quote. Then rattles off something and says it's in context to, like she's just quoted me. She hasn't got the vaguest, slightest idea what I've actually said, but she'll take it out of context without even knowing what the words are.
I will come back, and if you want to
Brenda,
debate me
why
on
would you
this,
say you had a quote if you don't know it? It just makes it seem like you're being disingenuous. And
she's a fucking lying bitch. That's why she'd say it. Because she's here to lie about things I've said when she doesn't have the slightest idea what I've said.
You can't have a conversation with a bully.
A bully? You've just lied about me. You've said you've got a quote and you haven't. You lying, degenerate sack of shit.
You're a
liar, Brenda.
Just a lying parasite. That's all you are.
You're an abusive bully. You're an abusive...
Oh, now it's victim time. So she comes along, tells the audience that she's got a quote from me. She hasn't. She's lied. She's a liar. That's what Brenda is, a liar. She's lying about me right now. And when I point out that she's a lying, degenerate sack of shit, she claims I'm bullying her. Don't fucking lie about me, and I won't call you a lying, degenerate sack of shit, which is what you are when you lie and claim to have quotes you don't have. I'm not bullying. I'm defending you. I'm defending myself against lies. That's what I'm doing. I'm bullying you. You're lying about me, and I'm going to point out that you're lying about me. You don't have a quote. You're a liar. Now, if you think that's bullying, go away. No one's keeping you here. You're not chained here. Sod off. If you feel you're being abused when you lie about the host, then sod off, you bloody liar.
I'm not lying about you.
Yeah, you said you got a quote. You haven't. That's a lie. You said I can go away and come back with a quote. So after the fact, when you've made your point based on something you've said is a quote, you're going to say that you're going to go and get the quote after? That's a fucking outrage.
Oh, please.
Oh, please. What are you going to do next? Say that I'm bullying you? When the point's made that you're a lying, degenerate sack of shit, you say, oh, please. Go and delete somebody's files that you don't own, Brenda. This is the kind of scumbag she is. This piece of shit bitch here goes into people's files and deletes them if she doesn't like them. She'll lie about people and make up quotes she hasn't got, and then she'll play victim and say that she's being bullied. What, were you bullied to deleting all those files, Brenda?
You're just an abusive bully, and you abuse...
Oh, she is going to claim bullying. I'm asking you a question about why you deleted someone else's files that you didn't own, and you're going to claim I'm bullying you.
Brenda.
Uh-huh.
Cry us
well,
all
I'm
river.
not crying. I'm simply pointing out what he is.
Why do you keep coming back if you
You're
feel
simply pointing out that your arguments are garbage because you first came in here with an argument of space is not a vacuum. It's
that's
garbage.
Not what I,
and
that's
you
a lie.
failed.
That's a lie.
And you
that's
failed,
a lie.
Brenda. You failed.
That's a lie.
Goodbye.
I never said space is a vacuum. I never said that. That's Nathan's argument.
You said that, Brenda. You said space is not a vacuum. That's not a part of the heliocentric model. That was your exact words. Your exact words were
my argument.
A vacuum is not part of the heliocentric model. We then read
and as the show descends into chaos, I will say, if you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980 live, then unfortunately this is where we bid you farewell. A massive thank you to all who hit the super chat, and of course a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this debate possible. If you need to keep yourself occupied after this stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!